Okay, we're recording.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Paula High with Holistic Wellness Writers, and I am interviewing Karen Thomas with Holistic Digestive Solutions. She is a holistic health colleague of mine. Not only that, she's also my first client. We met at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition as we were studying to become health coaches together. Give you a little bit of information about Karen. Karen Thomas is a registered dental hygienist, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, Institute for Integrative Nutrition health coach, author, and motivational speaker. Karen received her master's degree very recently in human nutrition and functional medicine from the University of Western States. Karen works with people who are stressed, depressed, fatigued, and suffer from chronic fatigue and chronic health issues and conditions. Her clients describe her as motivating, inspiring, helpful, and just all around great. I would agree. For more information on Karen, you can learn about her and what she does at www.holisticdigestivesolutions.com. Karen has become somewhat of a digestive health expert out of necessity. Karen's life drastically changed in her 40s, hardly a bat of the eye ago, due to tremendous stress, which turned into debilitating mystery illness. You know, the kind where you go to the doctor and they can't figure out what the heck's wrong with you. She was bedridden for about 2 years. Finding no hope from the usual allopathic medical avenues, she took matters into her own hands. After learning the wisdom of using food as medicine, she found the additional education she needed to heal her life. Her life turned a corner, and a new branch of her journey began. Karen chose to tell her own story to help others. She wrote her first book in 2016. Before she wrote her book, Karen decided to enroll in a course which promised to guide students through the process of writing their own dream book. While she found the course guidance helpful in general, it gave a lot of great tips and it gave a lot of good guidance. She realized that her writing skills might not be up for the task of writing a credible sounding piece. She decided she needed some professional writing help. That's when she consulted me, Paula High Young, to assist her with writing her book, completion, self-publishing, all the good stuff. Welcome, Karen, and thank you for the opportunity to chat with you.
Thank you for having me, Paula. I'm real excited to be here.
You're like my baby. We were just talking about that before the call. You're my first client, and you're where it all started, and I figured out that I really did have something to offer the world. So I'm thrilled that I was able to bring something great for you.
Yes, and I'm totally, eternally grateful for how you have helped me bring out my story that I really wanted people to know about.
Cool. And I think people needed to hear it. So think back to before we began working together, and then take me through the process of going forward as we explore these questions, okay?
All right, so
the first one is, how and why did you decide to write your first book?
Okay, so for me, I felt like I had a story I wanted people to know. I was so stressed out that I never realized how bad stress could affect your health. And for me, as you well know, it ended up really shutting down my entire body, where I could not even get out of bed. And for almost 2 years, literally, all I did was sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep. That's all I could do. I couldn't get out of bed. And every day I got worse and worse. And the pain in my body got worse. And I tried conventional medicine, and I kept telling them I really wanted to find the root, because I felt that if they medicated me, we were never going to find the root of this problem, and I knew that I would end up paying later for that. And I fought really hard in a system that wasn't listening to me. And it just came to that point for me that I finally had to get sick enough that I had to take it into my own hands, because literally nobody was listening. And all the information was right there, and nobody even saw it.
Well, nobody saw it, and even though the information was right there, even on the internet, it was not common knowledge. So it wasn't like right there in your face. You had to go digging for it. And yet when you're that tired and that brain fogged and that just out of it, how do you do that research? It's really hard to do that research. And so when you say you were sleeping, the majority of the time, I know that you would try and get up and do stuff. And a lot of this is covered in your book, which is, tell us the name of the book.
Called Overwhelmed and Undernourished, Use Food as Medicine and Turn Your Life Around.
So you would try to get up and do stuff, and you go into a lot of this, and I mean, it's just like one shoe drops after another. You would try to get up and do stuff, and it just like, I mean, it was like narcolepsy almost. You just were like, I got to get to the couch quick.
Yeah, I'd only have about 60 seconds, I felt. So from the time I went from my bedroom down the steps, which is probably about maybe 30, 45, I felt that I only had enough time to make it to the couch. And if I didn't make it to the couch, I would pass out.
Yeah.
And that was every day. So that's how much energy I had from bed to the couch, which was only a couple of feet away.
And I would say that there's probably a lot more people suffering from this kind of mystery illness. Oh, I'm hearing a reverberation there. I know there's a lot more people suffering from this kind of mystery illness than most people realize. And yeah. I know from experience, when you're trying to explain to somebody what you've gone through, especially if they have no clue what, they've never gone through anything, they kind of think, oh, yeah, okay. They kind of think you're crazy. And that doesn't help. And you talk a little bit about that in the book. So how were you feeling as you began your book process? Because you'd gotten through the worst of it. You were still healing, but you'd gotten through the worst of it. You'd gone to IIN, Institute for Integrative Nutrition, gotten your health coaching certification, or you were in the process of getting your health coaching certification. Say that 5 times real fast. And you wanted to help people. You wanted people to understand you're not alone. There's information out here for you to help you navigate this path back to wellness. So how were you feeling as you signed up for this awesome Write Your Dream Book course and you were like ready to set the world on fire? And how were you feeling as you started that?
Well, I was a little bit nervous because I didn't feel like I had the writing ability. I knew I had the story and I knew I could write it. I just knew that it was going to need a lot of cleanup, honestly, because I'm a better speaker than I am a writer. And so I can tell you things and explain it and have, inflection of voice or, hand gestures to come across what I'm trying to say. But in a book, it's a lot different. And so I was a little bit nervous about the final outcome.
Yeah. Well, when you're speaking to somebody, especially face-to-face or even in video like this, you've got their voice, the tone of their voice, the inflection, the changes. You've got the facial expressions. You've got the body language. You've got all that. But in writing, how do you convey all that stuff? And that's kind of daunting, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
So what would you say were your biggest concerns as you embarked on this book?
For me, there was a lot of emotions. This story is the story of my life. So my book really dives into a lot of my personal life and what I was going through. And I'm pretty private with a lot of things. And I really did not share with the world or even with my immediate family all the struggles, the internal struggles I was going through. So for me, it was the emotional part of writing it wasn't that I found it difficult. It was having to relive that entire experience again.
Yeah.
And again and again, and being able to put it forth for somebody to understand what I was going through, in just a direct way, or not a clear, but just it's hard for me to say, just a way to put it down on paper that they would understand it.
Well, and like you say, there are a lot of things in this world that are universal that we all understand, but then there are a lot of things that we go through as individuals that other people may not have experienced. And kind of like the whole thing with abuse, you look at somebody and you're thinking, why doesn't she just leave the jerk? But you don't know until you're deep in the depths of that kind of crap how difficult they make it for you, and how they play the mind games and make you think you wouldn't survive if you left. So It's that kind of thing that you don't understand till you walk in their shoes. And so I think for you, the challenge may have been helping paint a picture where they would understand, kind of vicariously walking through your shoes and get it.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't understand, is everybody's easy or willing to make judgments about things. But until you really are walking exactly in those shoes with all the internal and external factors that we don't see, it's very difficult. And I really wanted to put as many points as I could without overwhelming the reader. And giving them just there was a lot.
Well, in case in point, you had 1 or 2 chapters, and we don't want to give away, no spoiler alerts here, but you had 1 or 2 chapters where you were still pretty dang angry about an individual and how he had managed or mismanaged your case, or how you felt he had mismanaged. And we talked a lot about that, and going in early on, I looked at it and I said, this ain't going to be publishable, because people are it's going to be overwhelming to them, whether they realize that's what they're reacting to or not. And so we put that couple of chapters to the end because I felt like you needed to work through it. And how was that process for you? How did you experience that?
So I think that was the hardest chapter for me. To go through. I think the rest of it was pretty simple, because I had so many emotions tied in that chapter. There was so much anger. There was so much resentment. And in one case, I feel that I kind of, one person got the brunt of my anger. And it wasn't really all him. It was the whole medical community that I honestly feel that failed me. But then as you were so great to use your degree in psychology, oh my God, you kind of let me work through it. And I think the funniest or the best thing with working with you was that you let me go through that process. You gave me the time I needed to heal. And the funny thing is I finally got to that point where I was saying, no, we got to get rid of this. We got to get rid of this, because I really didn't want to come across as such an angry, bitter person. I really felt that I needed to own my own stuff. And I think that's one of the things that when we get sick, we always, or no matter what it is, we try to sometimes put the blame off on somebody else. And, it's easier to blame somebody than it is to own your own stuff. And I had to finally come full circle, and I needed to own my own stuff. That although he was a practicing physician, that it wasn't really his responsibility for every meal that I ate that helped cause some of my problems. It wasn't, this was my body. It was my responsibility. Now, I did look for guidance from him, which I honestly do not feel I got.
Yeah.
But in the end, it was really up to me. It was my responsibility. It's my vessel, and it was God given to me. And it was important that I owned that it technically was my responsibility. So I had to finally realize, you know what, I was angry, but that I also needed to own my own stuff. And I had to take back that part and really realize that ultimately in the end, it wasn't really, I mean, he probably spawned, you know, me in the direction where I am now, where I am. And you know what? I'm really grateful for that, because what I didn't get from him made me go out and find the answer that I needed. And not only did I find the answer I needed, I found the career that I was supposed to be working in. Even though I am a dental hygienist and I love clinical dental hygiene, and I will still use that, but I now am doing something that I love even more than that, and yet I'm merging both fields together. So it was a blessing in disguise. Let's just say that. Well, and I'm really grateful for that.
And that's good. And I would say, had a thought and it just like helium balloon took off. That's okay. Fun when you're live. But I would say that in his defense and in defense of the whole Western allopathic medical community, I want to be very clear. We're not blaming. We love you guys and we embrace you. It's just when you're trying to deal with the mystery illness and all you're getting is you're feeling stonewalled, but what's really happening is you guys got maybe 30 minutes of training in nutrition, and it's not your fault because you guys didn't get extensive nutritional training. And it's kind of funny, especially now that we've gone through the IIN program, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition program for health coaching, and we've come to understand using food as medicine. Now it's kind of funny to look back and know that we grew up like everybody else, eating all the stuff that was on the grocery store shelves. And for us to now come to this realization that, oh gosh, what I put into my body and on my skin and into my lungs, into my lungs is kind of a no-brainer, but what I eat actually affects how I feel. What? I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer now that we know the training we've gone through. It's a no-brainer, but all of us grew up in that same concept of, you mean I can't eat Captain Crunch? You mean that's not good for me? It says it's enriched. What do you mean? So we had to make a shift. And as you made that shift, you learned all the years of culminated dietary missteps were responsible for your stuff that happened to you. And yet you were going to these doctors and they were like, I don't know how to help you, because they didn't have that kind of training. And they were doing the best they could with what they had. And I think over time, as we worked on your book and we set those chapters aside, would you say it's fair to say that I helped you heal those chapters?
Oh my God, without a shadow of a doubt. It was the best thing. You don't realize that where you're going when you're writing a book like the one I wrote, that it was really more healing for me. It was really finalizing my healing and realizing, like you said, I don't blame him. I don't blame the medical community. I've had the opportunity to meet with a lot more physicians now.
And you help people now.
Yes, and you also realize that they're set under different confinements that we're not aware of, and it's very different for them.
Well, so, especially with all the insurance stuff out there. Yeah,
exactly. So there's so much more that really comes to the table for them. So I realized for me, it was the best, and I'll be honest, getting sick was the best thing that ever happened to me. The 2 years,
funny?
The 2 years that I was on the couch and I couldn't get off, and I slept, for more than 15 hours during the day, plus at night, I will tell you that is the best thing, because I needed to go through that so that I would honestly understand and have the empathy that is needed to hold somebody's hands that it was in the same shape that I was, to say, I understand. I truly understand how it is to be so sick that you really want to die. Losing the quality of your life. You will give every penny you owe so that you can have your life back. And I know what it is to have that. And I don't ever want anybody I know to be in that shape. So for me, this was a blessing. And I think that's why I wanted to write my story, because if you know what I went through and you see where I am now, you see that you can do that too. You can heal.
And with what you started with, that wasn't coming through adequately.
Exactly. And you were able to, I felt like you would jump in my head, in my brain, and you would just pick out the words, and you would just come out with, and I'd say the same sentence, and you would take it and you would be like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly how I felt. Like, how did you know that?
So it was like I was taking what you meant to say and saying it more clearly.
Yeah.
So would you say that was your biggest challenge throughout the whole book writing process?
Not you, me.
Oh, well, yeah, but just trying to figure out how to say what you wanted to say.
Yeah, because I really wanted those words to come out so that I can really, so somebody would really understand.
Yeah, you want the heartfelt.
Yeah, I really wanted them to understand, in a clear way that wasn't confusing, and you were able to do that for me. You really helped pull those words or those thoughts out of me to make what I was trying to say much better.
So when you first embarked on this course to write your dream book, and you realized that maybe your writing skills weren't quite up to the challenge, how was that affecting your life? How did that feel, and how was that affecting your life?
For me, I know that I could put stuff on a page and I could, tell my story, and I was a little worried, that things wouldn't convey. But then I felt like when I handed it over to you and said, okay, let's do this chapter by chapter, or however we need to do this, and break it apart, it was really good for me, because I could see you were able to look at things from a reader's perspective that I didn't realize, and I didn't look at it because I'm trying to tell you my story, and you had more questions, and that I was leaving out because for some reason I always felt like, well, you understand, you're like in my head. But no, people don't understand because they weren't living my life and didn't really, weren't here. Yeah. And you were able to pull those things out to say the reader might want to know, well, what happened here? You tell the story here, but they want to know the outcomes as well.
Right. So as we were going through the writing process, I would come up with questions, and we would actually do interviews, right?
Yes.
We would sit down and I would interview you and ask you more questions and take notes. And now I utilize, recordings like this to help me really flesh it out. So what was it when you realized your writing was just not maybe going to cut this, and you really, really wanted to get your story out there? What was it that made you decide that you wanted to work with me?
I think you and we had actually had a couple of conversations before, and I really felt comfortable with you. And I don't know if it was your health coaching, your past experience, or it could have been something we may have shared in the past. I'm not sure, but there was just something about you. And I just felt like, you know what, I want to trust her. I want to, I would love the opportunity to work with her. And so I said, you know what, this is, you're right here. And I felt like God put you in my path, and, because he knew that this is what I needed to do. This is, he was like killing two birds with one stone. You needed to birth the business, and I needed to write a book.
And my bird didn't hear that, so.
and I just, I just felt like it was just something that was meant to be.
Yeah.
And so I, contacted you and said, okay, can you help? And
And I
you,
gave you a little bit of a dry run of what I could do. And
yes,
how did that feel?
it was really good, and it made me really want to work with you more, because I knew I'm not one that will say, oh, I'm really a good author, or I'm really good at this. No, I'll take, I was not a good writer. I feel like I am the queen of awkward sentences, although you have told me I'm not. And I just, I don't know. I knew I needed help, and I just was really happy to know that there was somebody out there that could help me, that understood the holistic part of what was going on, and that you could also see me transform, because you were there for part of it as, a fellow peer, to watch me go from pretty much when I was bedridden, to, being able to walk 5 miles a day, work out 400 minutes a week, so, you were able to see that journey as well.
And, and we're working on speaking, right? Even though you're better as speaker, we're working on the you knows and the ums and stuff.
Yes.
We're working on that, because that's something else I work with people. Because to be clear, earlier you said my degree in psychology. To be clear, I don't actually have a degree in psychology. I have a minor in psychology. I worked in the psych field in the trenches in psych hospitals for about 4 years, and I've been interested in psychology all my life. But my degree is in communication, which is interestingly linked to psychology in a lot of ways. So, but my holistic background, got the psychology background in my working field, and I've got herbal training. I'm an herbalist. I've got like you, I've got the essential oil educator training. Of course, we've both got the health coaching, holistic health coaching, and I'm a Reiki practitioner. So the other thing is, I also, back when I was working in the psych hospital, I was a certified psychiatric technician along with a nursing assistant. So I do possess the ability to decipher the medical terminology, as it were. And we just worked on a scientific paper too, and there's some terminology in there we had to tackle. So what would you say, overall, from where you started to what we've done, what was the overall result of working with me?
So the overall result was, I wrote a book. I got it published. Mm-hmm. My book won Best Top 10 Authors in Launch Your Dream book competition, which was a great honor and privilege. Mm-hmm. I also got a 5-star review from a professional critic, which was very exciting and not expected, because I kind of snuck that in there without telling you. I said, I just curious, let me see what somebody else says. And was very surprised and so excited. Yeah. And actually had somebody recently who had read my book, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was, wow, that was really well written. And I was so proud. And it was kind of part of me, but it was not just me, it was her or you, because I felt that I could not have done that without you. And because I was also writing this book not just for me or for family and friends, and I wanted physicians to read this as well. I was very proud, because it's an easy book to read. Takes you about maybe an hour if you read a lot, and it comes across. I think it's just really easy to read.
Yeah. Well, for a slow reader like me, it might take more like 3, but that's okay. But again, I read stuff over and over and over again because, well, I tell people I have an editor's eye and a healer's heart. So.
Yes, you do. You do. You can pick things out of a line of 100 things. You're like, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, how did you do that?
Well, I was a photo lab technician for a long time, and that's another kind of editing. So I guess it's that with the writing experience. So what was it like to work with me? I mean, was I a pain in the butt? Was I difficult? Was I easy? Was I healing? Was I helpful? how would you characterize it?
Oh my God, I love you. I feel like we have become really good friends.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know you much better.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's not a day that I don't want to get on the phone and talk to you. You know, it's just, to me, you're not just an editor. You're so much more than an editor. And I am so grateful. I'm so grateful that I've had you work with me on other projects. And, you know, I'm getting ready to write my second book. And I'm just excited because I don't want to work with anybody else, because you did such a fantastic job that I cannot, I'm just so grateful. And, you know, everybody will ask me, you know, I'm looking for an editor. Oh my God, I have the best one. Because like I said, it's not like you're just an editor. You're a health coach. And so you're really coaching while you're editing. And so you're getting so many things in so many different areas of your life that you're actually addressing.
That's true.
So, yeah, that's the coolest thing. So you're not just doing editing. You're really working on life issues and health coaching. So physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. It's all in there, and you're editing.
You reminded me of a couple of sessions we had where we were going through manuscript stuff, and I could tell you were really stressed and you were really dragging. And I said, when was the last time you did something for yourself? What have you been eating? And we actually did a little mini health coaching session while we were doing the editing. I'd totally forgotten about that, but we did that a few times, didn't we?
Yeah, and that's the nice thing. It's because you hold each other accountable, you know, and like you say, okay, what were you eating today? You know,
well, I feel it's really important that what you take in affects your brain and affects your clarity, and all affects your creativity and your ability to think and write clearly. So I feel it's all connected.
Yes, yeah, and so now I stay away from certain foods, because I know, especially if I need to speak or I need to produce something, it's just better that my mind is clearer when I eat cleaner.
Well, and we've talked about things are falling off my shelf. We've talked about, you know, we've got some essential oil blends, and I've reminded you on occasion, have you used your Motivate? Have you used your Cheer? And so it all plays together. So, and I keep starting my sentences with so, my bad. What was your big aha or takeaway from this whole process?
That nothing's impossible, that sometimes we need somebody to hold our hand to help us, because you're like the bridge that gets us to the other side. And we may have a dream and we don't know how to get there, and you were able to hold my hand and help me cross the bridge or hurdle that I thought I would never be able to do. And you know, now I have my first book out, and people are already asking me, all right, when's the next one coming out?
Well, you're getting speaking gigs now, right?
Yes. And I do have one in a couple of weeks that I'm getting to talk about digestive health. And I was able to speak at the IIN conference, which was real exciting. And this next year, my speaking engagements are really going to grow. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
So wrapping up, this is taking a little longer than I thought we would, but that's okay. It's all good with a friend. Just kind of to wrap this up, what would you tell any holistic practitioners who are watching this, who are thinking, maybe considering, maybe I read a book, maybe they've started a book and put it away in a drawer, maybe they have some ideas written down, but they don't know how to get started, but they're wanting to put their message out there, they're wanting to write a book, and they don't know what kind of assistance is out there. What would you say to them?
I would say hire Paula.
And I did not pay her to say that.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'm telling you, you will not regret your decision.
Thank you.
I am so happy that I hired you. I look forward to continually working with you. Like I said, my next book, I'm starting on. I cannot wait to get through the process of writing. And it really, to me, it's a no-brainer. You offer so many things, and it's not just editing. They're getting more than what they're paying for. So I would, with no hesitation, you're not paying me, to say this. This is my honest opinion is hire Paula, because you will not regret it. Best decision I've made. And like I said, I'm getting ready to write the next one and the next one and the next one. And I will definitely keep you. You're my number one.
Boy, I've got job security for a little while.
Yeah, I got
and you're one of my best referrals, and I've gotten a few referrals from you, and I am eternally grateful. Thank you.
I bought 10 ISBN numbers, so
We're set to go for several.
I've got 9 more coming.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for joining me today and talking to me. And we were trying to get, she's been busy finishing up her master's degree, and she's just been crazy busy. And she had some family who evacuated from the Florida hurricane. And things have been crazy in your life, so you hadn't had time to write a testimonial. And she said, "Can we do a video?" And I'm venturing into videos now, so what the heck, right?
Yeah, I figured it'd be easier, because I could have written a testimonial, but I'm like, you know what? Let's try the video, because I feel like we can put it out there and people can see, I'm not BSing you. I'm serious. I'm really grateful, and I'm honored to have had the privilege to work with you, and will continue to work with you, because I honestly think you're so much more than just an editor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we'll wrap this up so we don't keep people up past their bedtime or whatever. So thank you again, and I appreciate it. And we'll see you later.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you.